Okay, everybody, testing to see if you can hear the sound. Let me know. As soon as we hear the sound, we're going live. Yep, you guys can hear me? All right, let's do it. Without further ado, let's roll. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to Live from Lockdown. We are now in season 3, and we're at episode, and I have to look, episode 84. So good to see you guys. I've had a few weeks off, and I got a lot of messages from you. Hey, when's it starting again? And also on the Facebook group and stuff like that. If you're not following me on Twitter at photoshopCAFE and also Facebook at photoshopCAFE, make sure you follow me there because I do post updates, and I did mention on Twitter that we would be coming again this week. And also, if you on the mailing list, I did send out an email yesterday letting you know, and then of course today we just sent out another one. So anyway, here we are, another year of LFL, or maybe we'll change the name of it at some point this year. We'll see how we go, because I mean, this was supposed to just be a temporary thing, but here we are once again doing this, and I guess it's a permanent fixture now. And so great to see you guys. I hope you had a great holiday. I want to wish you all Happy New Year, and let's hope for all the best for all of us for 2022. So all the regulars are in the house. I see you all there. And our friendly moderator is here. That's Bruce. You'll see Bruce Bicknell there. He's raised his hand. Raise your hand, take the drink order, and he will be happy to organize all your drinks for you. And who knows, maybe you'll get them in 2022 or maybe 2023. Maybe I should just get ready to kick off. So what we're doing this week is, of course, we're sponsored by nobody, so we can say whatever we want to do and whatever we want to say. And also, I changed my seat. Notice I'm not using that squeaky chair anymore. So for those of you who are complaining about the squeaking and the creaking of the chairs, isn't that amazing what annoys us as we get older? I'll definitely say that about myself. Absolutely everything is annoying, and every year those things that are not annoying become annoying. It's annoying if people talk too much. It's annoying if they don't talk enough. It's annoying if there's nothing good on TV. It's annoying if there is good stuff on TV. Hey, welcome to life. That's just how it is. And that's my positive mental attitude for this year. So my New Year's resolution is just don't be annoyed at everything and just be chill. Yeah, that's my New Year's resolution. How about you guys? You got a New Year's resolution? Pop it into the chat there. So anyway, what I figured we would do this year is, I'm not going to do it for a whole year, but just for this week. As a lot of you are aware, I went on a trip in Hawaii in December, and it wasn't a vacation. You're thinking, oh yeah, you went over on vacation. Actually, I'm renewing my drone book. I'm doing here's the announcement, a new version of my drone book some point this year. So I needed to go out and get some photographs. So the purpose of my trip was to go out and get photographs. Part of those are drone photos, and part of those are just, other photos. So I ended up shooting 4,000 photos. And so, yeah, all of this has a point. I'm leading up to something. How many times do you do that? You go on a trip, you take thousands of photographs, or maybe holiday time, people come around, you take lots of photos of people, or you're traveling or whatever. You've got all these photographs. Now, what do you do with them? How do you organize them? So that's essentially what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be looking at how to organize them. We'll look at a few of them and maybe process one or two of them. We'll look at some of your images that you have submitted. And essentially, that's what we're doing this week. So I'm going to put on my eyes so I can see you. I feel like Darth Vader. Help me with this helmet so I can look upon you with my own eyes. Luke. Okay, so now I can see, and I can see in the chat there, hey, Joe from Laguna Beach, nice and close to me, just over the hill there, 7 miles away exactly. All right, guys, so let's do it. So why don't we flip through right now onto my screen. There we go, desktop, and I've been busting to take a water, so now I can take a drink of water, and no one's going to complain. There we go. I don't know, am I complaining about complainers? And I haven't really had any Well, I haven't had any. I always have complainers, but no big complainers this year. All right, guys. So let's have a look at what we would do when we're out there. I'll do just a quick recap of, hey, when we're shooting, but here's my desktop. So the first thing that I do is I use Lightroom. I use Lightroom Classic. All right. So I don't know about you guys. So when I'm shooting, I shoot them onto cards. And so let me just do this really quick just to give you this strategy. Just really quick strategy for, shooting. So I have this little card holder here. And, maybe it's a good tip here. And if you look inside, I have different types of cards. Will you focus on that? There we go. And you can see I have SD cards. And over there I have micro SD cards. The micro SD cards go in the drone. The SD cards go in the camera. So what I do is, I load them into the camera in the morning. And then I go out and shoot. Now, I was shooting hardcore, like from before sunrise until dark every day. I literally did not see my hotel in daylight. So what I do is when I'm shooting and I switch out the cards, on my camera I don't switch out the cards really until they're full, but when I shoot them, some of you probably do this too, is I load them in this way. So when I look inside my card holder, the used cards are upside down. That's really important for the drone because when I fly the drone, every time I change the battery, I change the card. So it doesn't matter if it's full. Usually they're not. Actually, they're never full. But I do that because in case my drone flies away, crash it, whatever, I don't lose the whole day. I just lose whatever's on that card. So I have tons of cards. And then I flip them over. Then when I get back to the hotel, first thing I do is I plug in my laptop, card reader. I think you all know what a card reader looks like, but, here's a card reader right here. Come on, focus camera. Do your job. Doesn't want to focus on it. Anyway, so it's a card reader. You've all seen a card reader. Plug it into my laptop. And then what I do is I create a folder on the desktop. And I just call it, whatever the name of the trip is. And then I do day one. And in the two cameras, I have my Sony camera, wherever it is, my Sony A1, and my drone. So I create two folders, one Sony, one drone. And if I'm using a GoPro, I'll create a GoPro folder. And then what I do is I just dump everything into those folders. I don't organize them or anything like that. I just copy everything. And that way, nothing gets missed. Because if you just, copy over certain folders, maybe you can accidentally forget some things and you can lose your, maybe your videos don't come through or different things like that. So anyway, so copy everything over into that folder. And now this is where we get into Lightroom. So then I go into Lightroom Classic. And so you guys should all see it on your screen now. So in Lightroom Classic, I choose import. The import goes, I find the location wherever those cards are on the desktop. And by the way, each day I just name it day 1, day 2, day 3. And then that way just everything is just organized on there. And then I also make a backup to an external drive. And I say put it on my desktop. A lot of the time I put it onto an external drive, just so you know. But then the thing is, make sure you're not doing copy. Because if you're doing, make sure you're not doing add. Because if you're on add, what happens is it will add it to the library, but it's not going to move it. And I've fallen trick to this once or twice. So if you're doing it, well, actually, let me clarify that. If you're copying it from the card and you didn't do it onto your desktop, don't use add. Use copy and then copy onto your desktop. If you're already on the desktop, then you can use add, no problem, because you don't want to make another copy of them. You just want to add them to the library. Then you find them, right? So let me clarify that once again. If you copy into the desktop like I do, then choose add, then you navigate to the folder, and it's just going to add it to your Lightroom catalog without making another copy. If you're doing it from the card reader and you're moving it over from the card reader, then use copy or move. Now, the reason I dump them onto the desktop rather than letting Lightroom move it, because I know people are going to ask that question, is a couple of things. One, I find that just copying them over on a good card reader onto your computer and then adding them into Lightroom is faster than letting Lightroom move these. So if you let Lightroom move it, also, things like certain unsupported videos, if Lightroom doesn't support them, it doesn't always move them. So that's a second thing, or certain file formats it doesn't recognize. So that way I want to make sure everything is over and onto my computer nice and safe. Then I choose the add, and then it copies it into the computer here. Now, I might go and I might do some work on here, while I'm in there, when I'm importing it. Well, let me go back to the import again. And, there's options in here when you are importing these. We can do things like add to a collection. And sometimes I will do that. A lot of the time I will. And your collections, and we'll look at the collections in a second, we'll show here. And then we can add those. All right. One of the other things I like to do is just basic keywording. So I'm not keywording everything, but if I know I'm on a trip and, I'm in Hawaii, then I might type in Hawaii, and then I'll put a comma in there, and that lets me put another word in, and maybe the island. So I know I was in Kauai. I know the year is 2022. I know that the metadata shows that, but sometimes I like to put it in the keywords or whatever, significance you can start to type in, just basic keywords like that. And at that point, then you add it. So it's useful just to kind of have those things there. And of course, when you're adding it, you're going to, it's not going to show location on here. If you're copying it, you'll get another option on here, or copying or moving. You'll get an option of where you want to put it on the machine. And let me show you what I do for this, just for fun. So you'll see all your different drives will appear in here. And I don't put them on here. I put them on the Thunder Bay when I'm on my main computer, which is what I'm on here. I was just doing some stuff here with the iPhone. Let's go back up to photos. And what I'll do is I'll choose a location, and I've got a lot of photos in here. Sometimes I'll put them in photos or photo 3. These are just like different things like that, right? Or pictures. These are my unorganized ones. But one of the ones I like to do is use places. And under places, if I'm traveling, then I'll choose the place. So what it does is it moves those images onto the hard drive, and I think I'm in the way there. So what it does is when you go in here and you choose places, there's a location. So, if I'm in a certain place, I haven't been to the moon, but I have shot the moon. That would be funny. And then it just kind of copies the photos there on my hard drive so I know where they are. All right. So this is if you're working on the one computer. Sometimes when I'm traveling, I'll use my laptop, and then I'm going to transfer this to my main computer. So how do you do that? That's a question people ask a lot. All right, so right now I'm working with a low resolution because I'm at 1080, and this is a 4K display. So normally I see a lot more information over here on the left-hand side. But what I like to do is create collections. And this is my actual real working library. You can see 81,601 photos in here. This is not including, usually I do my drone photos separately. I do, some other ones separately. But my main ones are here. Okay, so what I do is I create folders or collections. So you can create a collection set, and I'll create a collection set, and I'll call it travel. Okay. Then under travel, I'll have different places. I'll create another collection set under there, and I'll call it Hawaii. So the thing is, if I click on travel, it'll show everything nested under here, all of them, all the places, and notice each place I have a different subfolder for. California, because a lot of different locations in California. And if I just want to look at the California ones, I grab on there. All the California ones are there. If I want to do the Hawaii ones, I click on here. All the different Hawaii trips are here, right? So I can go, different places, Oahu, different ones. In this case, I went to Kauai. So here's the photos in Kauai. And to add those photos in there, it's really simple. When you're importing in here, it shows the previous import, which obviously is not there. It's Balboa Island. But I can choose Command A or Control A, select all from the previous import, and then I can, just do different things with them. One of the things, I can add them to a collection. So go to collection here. We can do that. But what I like to do, though, is I like to create that collection. And I just select them here. And then when I create that collection under here, create collection, it gives you the ability to include the selected photos. So why don't we call this one reflections? And these are reflections that I shot. We're going to choose a collection set. Under the set, we're going to choose California, because that's where it is. And then I should have another one. Of course, I'm not going to be behaving myself here. Okay. So we're just doing California, and we're going to call this one Balboa. I do have a collection called Balboa, but we'll just create this, and then it's going to copy them here, and then we can see there they are under there. Now, if I wanted to just add those to Balboa, I could just select these and drag them, and now those are in Balboa. They're added in there. See that? So those are ones from Balboa Island. All right, so this is basically how I organize the photos, just letting you know that. So let's go to Hawaii, and let's go to Kauai. And so these are the ones that I've added from Kauai. Now, I did a helicopter trip, so what I did is I created a set here, which is not organized very well, as you can see. But there's the helicopter ones. So we can see that. So you can easily separate them by going in here. Now, if you're working on more than one computer, what you can do, if you want to, like say I put these in here and I did a little keywording or whatever, and I want to share these, from my laptop, and now I want to move them to my desktop, which you guys are looking at my desktop here. So what I do is take that set. So we've got that collection group. Now I don't want to export. I don't want to export everything. Here's a trick. If you hold down the Alt or the Option key, see that? It changes from export to export catalog. So on my laptop, I'll choose export catalog. I'll name that catalog, which I won't do here because it'll just create, as you can see, I've got a few here. Let's go to my Lightroom. So here's some different Lightroom ones I've been working on. Notice on my desktop, this is my desktop here. I've organized these just a aside. And we can go under here. We've got, all kinds of different ones, right? So you name it. Now, here's some options at the bottom. Export selected photos only. I generally don't do that. I want to export all of them, but if you want to do a partial catalog, you can. Export negative files. What that's going to do is it's going to take the photos. It calls it negative files, but really these are the photos. If you don't have that turned on, it's going to copy only the metadata and no photos will be copied over. And that's fine if you're going to manually, dump those photos. Maybe you've got an external drive and you're just going to copy that into a location. No problem. You can link those. But sometimes I'll do that. Export negative files. So it'll export the photos. Now, do you want the previews? I don't build and include the smart previews, and I don't build the available previews either because I want to keep that file size small. So what that'll do is it'll just do the JPEGs. This is how Lightroom works. Real quick here. So if you're not familiar with Lightroom, what it does is Lightroom does not store any photos. All it does is references the photos, right? So you have them on the hard drive. Lightroom points to that reference. Now, if there's raw files in there, it can't read the raw files. What it does is it builds a preview. So when you're looking inside those little windows here inside of Lightroom, and let me show you these. These are thumbnails. There's a regular thumbnail. You click. Sometimes it takes a second to sharpen because it's going to look at the full size thumbnail. Of course, I showed a horrible photo there. Is that one loaded? Yeah, see, it'll take a second for it to load, and then it gets sharp. See that? That's because it's building the full-size preview. So it can't look at the raw files. What it does is it creates a preview, a JPEG preview, and then when we go in and click on full size, what it does is it looks at another JPEG preview. Now, these can be exported, but they add file size, right? So that's why we're not, personally, I don't. Some people might want to. That's why I don't include those previews, because it's just going to increase the file size, whereas I can put it on my main computer and it can rebuild those on its own. So, if I've got time to do that and I want to save file size, I'll do it. If maybe you're in a real hurry and you need those, you could, but you're kind of just paying the price forward. So basically you're waiting because it still has to build these or copy them over. So it's going to take a little bit more time, but it's going to be a larger file size. including those will save you time on the other end, on the other computer, maybe, but it's also got to import all those JPEGs. So personally, I just don't find it useful. So I like to export the negative files, and then you choose, obviously I haven't created a catalog name, so export is going to be grayed out. If I created a name, then I could export the catalog, but I'm not going to. And then what it'll do is it'll put all of that into whatever folder you created. Now, when you're on your main machine now, you put all of that onto, generally when I export like that, I'll export it to an external drive. I'll plug in the external drive, and then rather than choosing import, hold down the Alt option, choose import catalog, go to your external drive, and you will select that catalog there, click choose, and then it will import whatever you exported. So number one, all your metadata. So any edits you did, those will come through because they're non-destructive. Those edits are part of your metadata. So, on location when you were there, any work you did with that, those are going to import. Any keywording, tagging, color keys, any of that stuff is also going to import. And if you included your negatives or your images, it will also import those images, and it will add it into your library. And it will be organized maybe into a collection, whatever like that. And all of that will come back through, and you don't lose any of your work. So that's super, super useful. Now, and I know, this is an area, I'm kind of talking about. It's like, maybe it's something I don't talk about very often because it's not super exciting maybe. But these are areas where people, do have a lot of questions. All right, so let's go back to the desktop. Main workflow. Main workflow is very, very simple. Main workflow, import the photos, copy them over, and then I like to put them into a collection. Here's a tip. If you go under folders, you can see the different drives. And if I go under here, there's different photos. Let's go into the Thunder Bay, under images maybe. Oh, there's 5 there you can see. Okay, so all the kind of, there we go. Now, there we go, loaded. Under photos, you can see how many photos are in there. These are the different, different folders. These are the folders that you have on your hard drive. Now, if you want to move photos, don't move them on your hard drive once they're in Lightroom. Move them from here. So if I wanted to move on my phone ones maybe into photos, which I wouldn't, but if I did, I could go here, hit Control A, select them all, and then drag them into photos, and I could move them or duplicate them that way. Now, that would enable me to move them, and it will move them inside of Lightroom as well because I did it through here. Now, here's a little tip. If you wanted to take stuff like maybe these and add them and make a collection, you can actually, I'll close the navigator down. Let me make sure we're on the desktop. Good. Yeah, if I wanted to do that, like say walk, and I want to take that to California, just drag it in here, release it, and you'll notice it created a collection. So here's my walk, my morning walks I do when I'm home. So notice what it did is it just made a collection. So I can take a folder and drag it into collections, and it will automatically create that collection based on the content and the same folder. Now, the important thing about all of this is it doesn't duplicate any of the photos, because some of the things that people do is people will create folders and do folder-based navigation. The problem with folder-based navigation is that you're duplicating your photos each time. So maybe this will live in California, maybe it'll live in walk, maybe it'll live in, the area. The thing is, if you're doing it as a collection, it doesn't duplicate the photos. There's one set of photos, and you can put it in multiple locations, points to the same photos, so you're not doubling up on that. All right, great. All right, so the next thing we do, is when we're in here, and let's go to Kauai. So I've got all the Kauai photos. I made a folder, but I haven't made a folder out of the Big Island. I was there as well. So how do I find those? So here's a nice thing. If I go in here, notice that these are selected. I'm going to select one of the photos. And this is a little trick. And this is we're going to go here now, and we're going to go under all photos at the top. Now, this is going to show all the photos, but it's going to start from the selected photo. So I know, oh, okay, here we are. Here's some photos, and this is, the first one from Kauai. So I can roll down here, and this is going to show all the photos, so we can get to the end of that. I'm using the scroll wheel on the mouse right now, and you can see the number there, whatever thousands of photos there are. And I'm going to scroll down and look at this. Lo and behold, I remember this is the car I rented in Kauai. So I'm delivering the car. We're done. Now we're on a big island, so I can select the first photo. I can scroll down, and I've just located these as some volcano stuff. The craters, very, very fun. And I can scroll all the way down. So now these are not in a catalog yet. I'm just trying to sort these out. So I'm just scrolling down. Okay, here's more. Trying to find all the ones from that location. This is Laguna. We don't want that. Laguna. So we know that here's the end. Right here. We're on the airplane. Boom. All right, so I've selected all of these. This is how you add them to catalog. So I'm going to go down to the collections. A catalog, I mean a collection. I'm going to create a collection. And I'm going to call this one Big Island. So this is exactly how I do it. Inside a collection set, because I know I have one. I've got one for travel. And I've got one for Hawaii. So I'm going to select that. Click Create. Make sure we're included selected photos. Click there. And now, notice now, we have one for Kauai and we have one for Big Island. So if I want to look at my Kauai photos, I click here. If I want to look at my Big Island photos, now I just go there. And there they are. And so anytime I want to find these, I can. But I'll show you another quick way of keywording. So I'm going to select all, Control A. These are the Big Island ones. Let's go into keyword, Big Island, Hawaii, crater, volcano. I only did the volcano there, so, and then I can hit enter, and now it's going to add those keywords to all of those photos. I mean, if I want to look at these, we've got suggestions here. Oh, aloha, that'd be nice. Let's add that. We could do that. And so also you will see these kind of suggestions here, and so you can use those. So that way, I just basically applied those keywords to all those photos. Now, I don't get super deep into keywords. I know some people do. I just want to just get some simple keywords there for the things I'm going to be looking for. So maybe later on, I'll be looking for Big Island or crater or whatever. Now, here's a new feature inside of Hawaii. Inside of Hawaii, my brain is gone. This is a newer thing inside of a Lightroom. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I've got a lot of collections, and you can see I really organize everything into these collections, these collection groups. Everything is sort of organized that way. So what if I'm up here and I'm on, cars or something like that? So here's some cars, and I'm like, oh, I need to find Big Island. Oh, I can just type in here big. And look at this. We can filter here. There's a Big Island right there. So this filtering was added, a couple of versions ago. A lot of people were not familiar about this. So we can sort through there. You can sort through your folders. You can do these searches, and they will look for those collection names. So you can find those there. Now, the filter bar, which is the backslash key, by the way, all of this is in the library module. Backslash key will open up the filter bar, and I can choose things like text. And I'm going to, any searchable field, I could do that. I could use keywords. So this will limit just the keywords. So it won't look at file names, things like that. Type in big, and we just found it. Is the Big Island right there? There they are. And hold those thoughts to yourself, Bruce. Bad boy, bad boy. All right. So anyway, we're going in there, and so we can do the searchable field. We can do all kinds of different things. So that's kind of how you find your photos. All right. So what if we want to do some fun stuff here, like edit some of these photos? But before I do, let's just see if you guys got any questions, because this is a kind of an area I find that a lot of people get stuck on this stuff. So you guys, this is why we're live. Drop a question, and if I can answer it, I will. Now, there's other things that I might do sometimes too when I'm in here. Like, let's go back to the And this is just giving time for you guys to add that. Now, there's some things we can do in here. Like one of the things I do a lot is I shoot a lot of HDRs and panoramas. And there's way we can actually kind of sort those too. We can sort them by time, and by doing that, we can automatically stack them. So, you know, if we go into the stacking kind of thing, let me just select a bunch of these. And I'm waiting for you guys' questions, and I'll look at those in just 1 second. So, you know, we can go in here and we can do different things, you know, for organizing these. You know, we can stack them. There's an option here to automatically stack them. Let's go here, stacking. See, we've got them stacked there. And we can stack by time. So auto stacking by capture time can be really useful. And what that will do is it will enable us to find things like, you know, HDRs and panoramas, you know, when I've shot those, so we could stack those by, you know, seconds or time there in that case. Let me just click out of there and see so we got the stacking here. Why is that grayed out? Probably doing something wrong here. Let me select them all, and I might have to do that from, I probably have to do that from the actual photos themselves. So, you know, I could do that. You know, we could go into the photos there. We could find those. And once again, you know, if you want to know how to do that, let me just click some here, and you would right click. I don't know why I picked that one. Let me pick a different one. This is the reason why a lot of the time, you know, when you teach, you don't teach with your actual real thing. You just go down and just, you know. So we can go here and then do stacking, photos, stacking. Here we go. Auto stack by capture time. This will come up. So if we do any HDRs or panoramas, you know, we can put those into the smaller stacks. And this is by time, 6 seconds. So I probably would do it smaller, 2 or 3 seconds. And this will enable me to find bracketed HDRs and stuff like that. All right, let's see questions. What do we got here, guys? Let's get these questions in here. My folders look like your files. For those of you who use Lightroom, Adobe moves it from one big annual release. Oh, okay, yeah. So, yes, they're doing quarterly updates on here. So, Rod Shelley, takes forever to find anything in Lightroom. Okay, so I have 81,000 photos. How do you find them without Lightroom is my question. You know, if you're having trouble using Lightroom or finding photos in Lightroom, let me tell you, and then there's a good question there. We'll get to that. Okay, so a couple of little strategies when you're working with photos. If you can't find things, a lot of the time it's going to be because you didn't properly organize them. Oh, by the way, that's John Paul Capronegro. I don't know if you guys know him. Al Ward, rest in peace. So you can sort by different things like this to help you. If you choose things like attributes, you know, you can, you know, find just videos or different things like that. This, if you click there, it'll pick just videos with 5-star. Let's turn the 5-star off. So you can do attributes, you can do text, you can do metadata. Now, one of the things that's interesting is you can sort by lenses. So here's some things I do sometimes is I might sort by, you know, by a particular lens. And this will help you to find wide angle, or you could use long lenses. You could sort by different times of the day. There's so many different ways of sorting. And let me turn the video off, and this will show a lot more lenses. And so based on those, you can organize your photos very, very quickly, you know, by time, cameras, lenses. These things will help you find them. And then when you find them, just slap in some keywords really quickly or put them into collections, and then that will help you organize them, and that will help you find them. So that should solve that problem. All right, what else we got here? Bridge. Yeah, bridges. Well, it's not easy, of course, but it's easier than finding them in Bridge, because the problem is when you go into Bridge and you have a lot of photos, it crashes, right? So for those of you who got lost, I've got a video that I created. It's how to organize your photos, how to use Lightroom in 15 minutes. Check it out. It's on photoshopcafe.com. It's also on YouTube. So check that out, and that will help you organize them. It's once you have a strategy, it's not that hard. The problem is if you don't have a strategy and then you try to just do everything all at once with no strategy, then it's going to be hard, right? So that's my suggestion. Do I convert them all into DNGs? No, I don't. Zach Multimedia. But you know what? That's a good strategy for some of you who do want to do that. It's an option. So why people convert the RAWs to DNGs is two reasons. One is that camera might be obsolete. So right now, my main camera was this Canon 5D Mark IV. I don't think the Canon RAW format's going to be obsolete anytime soon. And my latest ones, I'm using a Sony A7 S3 and an A7 A1. So Sony A1. So those are not going to be obsolete anytime soon. So I'm not really worried about that. If it looks like they are going to end of life those, then I might go through and convert them to DNGs. Another reason people use DNGs is when you're going between Lightroom and Photoshop or Bridge, you're going to be to get that metadata because it can't write into the RAW file. So what it will do is create a sidecar file, an XMP file, and then the XMP file will be with that file, and then you can copy that over. And it will get the information over. However, if you do a DNG file, which is also a RAW file, it will keep all of that in one file, and it can write to that metadata within that file. So that's why people will do a DNG. But because I'm using Lightroom with Photoshop, I don't need to do that. All right. Now, you can do a lot of what we do in Lightroom in Bridge, because Rod Shelley and some people mentioned Bridge. But when I'm shooting 4,000, I came back from Hawaii, 4,000 photographs. Like trying to do that with like years and years of photos in Bridge is just, to me, is just not a good idea. That's why I like to use, Lightroom for that. All right. So anyway, let's close this filter bar down. And did we have any other questions there? How do you categorize something like that? Women military display. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. Let me talk about you this. Well, Revel. DNG might save you a little bit of space, but that's only if you're going to delete your original files. I don't like to delete my original files, so in my case, it wouldn't save me space. But once again, it's perfectly up to you, how you want to do it. Okay, so let's talk about that. So what if I'm shooting women and I have outdoor shots and I have studio shots and I have street photography, weddings? So here's the thing. So in order to have that, I'm going to have to create a folder. This is just hypothetically speaking, where all the women are going to go in that folder. Then maybe under that folder, the women folder, I'm going to create studio folder. All the studio shots go in there. And then I'm going to create another folder, and that's outdoor shots, right? No problem. Now, what if I shot a couple? Or there's some women and some men? Well, I need to put those in the men folder as well. But now I need to create another folder for couples. Or maybe let's not. Maybe we didn't do that. But what if we did some women and we shot the woman as a cyberpunk? So under the women folder, I can create a cyberpunk folder, right? Sure. But what if I had men that I was shooting cyberpunk as well? Or couples? Well, and I want to have my cyberpunk one separate or a separate project. So now I have to create another folder. And then what do? Where do the photos go? Do they go under the cyberpunk folder? Do they go under the women folder? Do they go under the couples folder or the men's folder? So now I have to make multiple copies of those photos. You know where I'm going, right? And so now you're editing your cyberpunk photos and they look awesome. And you're like, okay, that's cool. But then you want to access that photo later, like 4 years, 5 years later. You've forgotten what you were doing. You're like, oh, yeah, there's a cool cyberpunk photo. I'm going to edit that, but it's under the women folder. Now you have multiple copies of those folders with multiple edits. Now, which is the real edit? This is why it makes sense to use collections in Lightroom, because I can create a models folder. Under the models, I can have the name of the models. I could organize them under man or woman. But the thing is, I can also, I've got a vampires folder. But guess what? Some of those models were the vampires as well. So what I'm able to do by doing this is I can have multiple collections, but they all point to the same photo. So if I edit that photo of the vampires, and one of those vampires happens to be Julia, when I go to the Julia photo, guess what? That photo is going to be, I know I'm pointing to the same photo. I haven't duplicated the photo multiple times, and I know that that edit is going to be there. This is Taylor, by the way, Taylor Davis. Is that particular shoot we're looking at right now. All right, so does that kind of make sense why we would do that? Let's go to some of the ones here in Kauai. And so I had fun in the helicopter, which looks like I didn't do a proper job of separating those. But if I go down here, I can go to my Sony photos. And we can find, these are these. So one of the things I did is, and one of the things I enjoy doing is I like to shoot panoramas and I like to shoot HDRs. So let's have a look, and I'm just scrolling through these. By the way, to go into the individual photograph, if I'm clicking here and I want to look at the photo and go into the develop module, I can do that. But I can hit the G, will give me the grid. And then the E will give me the individual photograph. So I can go to the grid, I can change the size of these in the thumbnails folder. I can go large or small, and I can find my photos. So maybe I want to do something like, here, look at this. I did an HDR. So why don't I select these photos? These are 3 photos that I shot from the helicopter. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose photo merge, and we're going to do an HDR. So now this is looking at the photos that I shot. And this is one of the nice things about working in Lightroom. This is one of the things I like to do, and we'll go all the way through here. Okay, so these are the photos. So we're going to definitely auto align, because see how there's a little movement between them? I'm shooting out of a helicopter, open door helicopter, hanging out of there. And, it's a long way down. And so, yeah, not using a tripod. But if I use auto align, it does a great job. Boom. Auto settings. This is what it looks like without auto settings. It doesn't always do a perfect job, as I can see in this case. And I can see there's the auto settings. So what it does is just does some basic adjustments. So it looks like, there's a little movement here. So I'll just use a deghost. And we'll see how it goes. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a super huge fan of working with HDRs inside of Lightroom. I'll just throw that out there for you right now. I prefer to use Photoshop for those, but it'll work. And the deghosting should get rid of the movement. And I did a better job, sort of. Because see how it was aligned a little bit differently there. So you can choose it. Let's go to high. And see if it does any better. Yeah, there we go. See how at the top it wasn't aligning? And then I used the deghost, and that kind of fixed it there. So that fixed the alignment. So the bottom was aligned, but the top wasn't. Maybe I had some rolling shutter going on there, which is possible, because this shot we were probably going by at 100 miles an hour. So, so there's different things. Sorry, so when you're hovering, you're not going to get that rolling shutter. So that's what I'm going to guess is happening. So now we've got an HDR with that. Let's turn the auto settings off just for fun and choose merge. By the way, rolling shutter, for those of you who don't know what that is, the rolling shutter is the sensor on the camera. While the camera's moving, it writes line by line. So the top of the photo will be written before the bottom of the photo, and that's why you get that warping or that rolling shutter and movements. Okay, so I put those together. Now, if you can't find a photo, when you merge them together sometimes, which it looks like, it's merged it together, it's right there. Instead of sorting by capture time, I can do by added order, and then the very last photos will be those. All right, so we've essentially, put those together here. That's an HDR, right? So let's do another one. I'm going to right click, select all 3 of those, and this time I'm going to do it differently. So we're going to choose edit in, and we're going to go into Photoshop. But rather than going to Photoshop, let's merge to HDR Pro in Photoshop, and let's see how Photoshop does these HDRs. So here we are inside of Photoshop. It's building it right now. You can see those raw files are coming in, and we're inside of Photoshop's HDR. And it's just going to take a second. Whoa, look at that. That is, we've got some alignment issues there. Did that even have auto align turned on? Let's remove ghosts, see what happens. Boom. Photoshop does a very, very good job of de-ghosting. So let's have a look, and we're going to tone this in Camera Raw. So now it's going to merge the HDR with probably two of those images, because it's going to drop one of them, my guess is, because of the ghosting or the movement between them. And it's going to take a second. Now it's going to launch this into Camera Raw. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Second monitor. Let me just, I've got to shrink this down and bring it over. All right, so here we are processing one of these photos right now. And let's bring it over, and I'm going to show you something here. All right, so here we go. Now it's brought it into Camera Raw, which it did this a while ago, which I think was a really, really nice addition, because the Camera Raw enables us to just get a more natural adjustment than tone mapping in other ways. And just to show you, you know, the point of HDR is, see the detail there in the shadows? And if we go the other way, everything is captured in the highlights. Looks a little horrible there, a little bandy. So sometimes that happens. So it's not like perfect. And why does that happen? Probably because only the two photos. So this is where you would definitely need the intermediate photo. So my guess is it captured the highest and lowest, and the other one didn't come through. So, you know, that's one of the things. But how would I get around that? I'll show you in a second. All right, so let's go here, and I'm just going to recover the highlights. I'm going to open up the shadows a little bit, just for fun. Just quickly do this, warm it up. Looks good. Add our texture a little bit, give it a little punch. Great. And let's click OK. And we're going to bring this through. And we can see, hey, this looks good. The sky looks weird, right? So this is a trick. So if this happens, what I'll do is I'll go into Lightroom, and I'm going to find the one that I like with the best sky in it. Let's just double click on here. And that one looks fine. That one looks fine. This one, I like the sky in this photo. So I'm going to choose Edit in Photoshop. And see, this is the nice thing about having everything in Lightroom, is for me, it's just very, very quick and easy to find things when I want to work with them. All right, so this looks good. The sky was bad. So we take this sky, drag it in, hold down the Shift key, release. Yes, it's going to look different. And we drop it in here. And then I'm going to hold the Alt or the Option key, hit the mask. So we've masked it out. Now I'm going to grab a brush. And I'm going to grab a white brush. So we're going to grab our brush here. Grab a white brush. And then we can just paint in the sky. Nope, not like that. I don't want to use a hard edge brush. I want to use a soft edge brush. So let's soften that. And then I can paint in the sky I like from the other photo. See what I'm doing here. Replacing that sky. And this was, you know, from the same location. You know, and let me just hit the X key. If it goes too far, I can go in here, just kind of, you know, just fake it. And I wouldn't probably do that all the way. I'd use a, well, let me undo that a couple of times because it looks a little weird. So in this case, I'm going to take the brush. Let's click on the brush here. And because I'm using a Wacom, I'm going to use opacity set to pen pressure. And then I'm going to blend this in rather than just let it go hard like that. And then just blend it in. Da, 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 maybe bigger. And, you know, I might have to clone a little bit to make it perfect, but you get the idea. So now we've replaced the sky and we don't have that bad looking sky. So this is, you know, basically what I would do in a situation like that, because guess what? It wasn't perfect. But, you know, we kind of fixed it now. So we had this problem with the banding in the sky. We fixed it just by bringing the original sky in, dropping it in. Or you could use sky replacement in Photoshop if you wanted. That's another one of those use cases of when would you use sky replacement in a situation like that when it didn't work. All right, guys. So that's kind of just looking at, you know, like some basics. Now, here's the thing. If I hit Control S to save this, And then I go back into Lightroom. It's going to add it. Look at that. So it adds that, and I don't have to import it back to Lightroom. It will automatically just put it in here, and I use G, and look at that. That photo is in there. Now, if you want to find the photos, there's different ways of finding the photos inside of a Lightroom. Let me show you something, because we're working inside this collection. Let me make sure we're in the collection. There we are. Now, if I want to find the ones I've edited, see these little buttons down here? Click the edit button, and this will filter by the edited photos, and, you know, and there we go. There's our photo. See, it shows these are the ones that I've edited. If I want to look at just the ones I haven't edited, click here and turn that one off. And now it shows the unedited photos, or the photos I haven't worked on yet. So there's kind of like a quick way to do that. Now, there's different ways of filtering. You can flag them. You can go through and give them ratings just by tapping a number key. We can give them color ratings, different things like that. Now, I use colors sometimes when I'm trying to create a collection within a collection. So I've got them, and I say, hey, you know what? Maybe I go for my 5-star photos, and I say, these are my 5-star photos. Awesome. But I want to identify this one, and this one, because maybe I want to do something with them. They're still 5-star, but I want to do something different, so I'll call them red. Oops, not like that. Let's actually, I'm doing the filtering here. What I want to do is show under there, color label. There we go, that's better. So the way to do it is there's 2 ways. So these photos, I can right click and I can choose, add a color. I can choose red. I can hit the 6 key, which I know will give me red, or I can click on red. There we go. So now we've got the red ones. So if you wanted to, like, you know, label these within these, you know, different. So what we're doing is essentially we're saying, hey, here's all our 5 stars, and I want to do something with these. And this is something that happens for a client a lot. You say, these are the photos, and they're like, okay, I want to take this one, and this one. I want to put those on the website. This one, and this one, I want to put on Instagram. So you're like, oh, okay, so I'll make those ones blue. And then so you're not losing your 5-star photos, but what you're doing is you're giving them different categories, and you're not giving them a star rating because it's not how good or how bad they are. It's you want a different thing. So web page and Instagram. And then, you know, you're doing a lot of these, and I do this with clients. And if you're at the top level and you've done this, all these folders underneath will reflect this. So if I'm at the top and I want all my blue ones, I could do that, or all the red ones from all those folders, you can do that. Or if I'm like, hey, I want to show me just the blue ones. Okay, so I'll click on the blue here. There's just the blue ones. Ah, awesome. Show me just the red ones. So I click on the red ones, take the blue ones away, and now you can sort here. So as you can see, right now we're sorting by the edited photos with 5 stars that are red. So you can really, really drill down in your organization by doing this. So these are, you know, just, I'm going very high level on this because, you know, I created, a 13, 14 hour training in Lightroom where I break it down into tiny, tiny little bite-sized pieces. And I'm just kind of showing you the high level here. So hopefully, you know, this is being kind of useful for you guys. You know, for those of you not using Lightroom, I'm not trying to convince you. Whether or not you use Lightroom is entirely up to you. Maybe you see a use case for it. For those of you who are using Lightroom, hopefully maybe you picked up a tip or 2 here. But what we're going to do now is I feel at this point is a great time to jump in and look at what you guys have submitted into our Facebook group. So let's have a look for this week and see what we've got. Okay, so let's go in here and we're going to select these. Now, I thought just for fun, I would start with one of mine. I never show mine, so here's one I submitted this week. And this one here I shot in the studio with Lon. He was the model. And we did 2 shots. We did one with this outfit on, with this jacket, and then we did another one with the other jacket. Now, he had the claws. He's got claws he's made. And then what we did is I put them into Photoshop, split them into 2. Then I used the Neural filter for adding age on this side. And with that jacket, kind of colored it. And then in the background, I was actually held up a little while on this because I was trying to recreate this movie poster. And it was this destroyed city, and I just couldn't find a destroyed city. So what I did is I took 2 photos from Chicago. And this one I just ran through another neural filter. It was the, the terraforming one, where you do the season, and then this kind of gave me this destroyed city kind of look. And then put them together to recreate a movie poster. All right. Well, thank you, Rod, for the kind words. All right, let's move on to the next one here was Ogre. Ogaz. I like the feel of this. It has a really kind of cool wasteland, futuristic, post-apocalyptic kind of a look, and I like the light rays coming out of here, and it was kind of nice. So thank you for sharing that. Now let's go on here. This is John William. And by the way, if I show you a photo and you're there, jump in and say hi. Thank you for sharing these. This one here, I just love the texture. This kind of got my interest here. And also I like the bird at the bottom, like framing it with the flower on the bird. It's just is a very kind of a cool thing here. Next one here was Philip Neal. I don't know if you guys remember Philip Neal. He's been with the cafe since the beginning. P. Neal, if you remember back in the days of the bulletin boards, when we used to have the forums on there. And I like what you've done here, Philip. Thank you for sharing this, and I hope you're doing well. Now, as a rule, I thought this was cool, smudge painting. So I don't know if you guys have ever done that when you grab the smudge tool and maybe they're using those brushes, the expression brushes or whatever you call them inside of Photoshop. But you can take a photograph and you can smudge it around using those tools and get something that looks like an illustration. And this is really nicely done. Great job. Really love this. This is nice. It's like a, photo painting. It's not a painting. It's not a digital painting per se. I've seen some people, they do this and then they say, I painted this. You didn't. You smudged a photo. It's a different category of work. And I think this one here is extremely well done. And I can see a fine brush was done to paint some of these hairs in and some really nice details in here. Great job. One of the better smudge paintings I've seen. And this one here is Andrew Nichols. I really love this here. These wings just look really great. And our angel or fairy or whatever you want to call it here. I like the semi-transparency in the wings. Really nicely done. Good job. Now, I feel like the girl on the left-hand side is a little sharp. The edges are a little sharp, like slightly softer edges, and I think you would have got a better blend. That's why it's kind of sticking out. Also, the contrast. So here's a tip. When you are compositing photos together, you want to look at the sharpness. You want to make sure the edge sharpness matches the sharpness. You want to look at the contrast. What's the darkest dark and the lightest light in here? So I feel like the contrast is just a little off, which is why she's standing out like that as well. Like maybe the blacks, if you just rolled them off a little bit, would have helped. And also look at your color palette, like the saturation. So here's a very, very desaturated background. This is desaturated too, but not enough, and maybe a little bit more. And also there's a color cast. If you look at the whites in here, see how the whites have a greenish kind of a tone to them? And here I'm seeing like maybe almost like a reddish tone here in the shoes. So you want to make sure that those match as well. I don't know what that's worth. I just wanted to add that in there. But once again, nice job. Really like this. Tony Mule. Tony's usually here. Good to see you. Tony, do us a favor. When you upload these, upload them a little bit bigger. I wanted to show a larger image, but maybe try to upload them at 1920, and then I can show them a little bigger. This is Little Corona Del Mar. Beautiful shot. Love the colors. Texture, nicely done here. Slow shutter speed and everything. I know this area well. Great photo. One of your better photos, Tony. There you are. Good to see you. Great job. Love this. Really nice. I like your composition here. I like your feel. Maybe just upload them a little bit bigger, and then I can display them better. And Gail Edwards, thank you for uploading. Gail is a regular contributor to a Facebook group. And by the way, if you're looking for us just in Facebook, go to photoshopCAFE challenges, art, and challenges or something like that. You'll find it. And then I'll accept you in there. So Gail likes to use Poser a lot. So you know, the models, all her models are in Poser, which is a 3D application, and you can get the models in there. Sometimes you get the costumes and stuff like that. And then I noticed she'll composite them into background and then do elements like the fire and different things like that. Nice job, Gail. And War Ren has been uploading, and it looks like going through to some of the old photos, boxed up photos found on. Looks like you were doing magazine shoots with film and slides, transparency, stuff like that. Good job. These are beautiful, lovely work there. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's very nice to see some of that work, you know, advertising work from the past. Good job. And that's it. All right. Well, it looks like we're at 2 o'clock, guys. Thank you for joining us. You know, this week was, you know, something just, I don't know, I thought for an introductory thing we could jump in and just show something very, very kind of real world of like, you know, hey, this is what I do with all these photos. So, you know, for what it's worth, I hope that was useful for you guys. Let me know, what would you like to cover, you know, for next week, now that we're back? Thank you, Tracy. Rael, good to see you from Perth. Warren, good to see you. Tony, obviously, and Rod Shelley. Photo Maker, good to see you. Yvonne, thank you, everybody. Great to see you. Dojo, thank you. Thanks for joining us again. Cafe Crew is in the house. Hannah, Tracy, Stuart, Kiora, good to see you from New Zealand there. Cheryl, Brad, Jane, Klaus, the whole gang's back. Deborah, good to see you. Thank you. Paul Reed, Misty, thank you for joining us. John Oswald, Chris Bacon. We'll see you next week. Tony, definitely. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining us for the first episode of the year. You know, just getting back into LFL, and you know, we'll get something exciting next week. Thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you all once again had a great holiday. So here we are. We've got some good things planned for 2022. Let's make it exciting. Every Tuesday, we're going to be dropping the new tutorials. Every Thursday, we're going to be coming here live. And yeah, so thanks for joining us. If you guys are new, don't forget, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. You won't miss any videos. And guys, hit that thumbs up, hit that like button. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. We got 98 likes, which we should have much more than that. So smash that. There we go. Now they're going up. Hit that like button. I didn't, you know, if I prompt you, you do. Hit that like button. It helps us, you know, once again. And all of that aside, next week, guys, we'll be back, and I'll be a little bit more organized than I am this week. Just trying to kind of just get my head back into work mode, even though, you know, it's just fun to hang out with you guys, but work is, you know, preparing what we're going to do. And next week I will prepare something fun and exciting for everyone. All right. See you guys.